In September 2019, Reef Catchments arranged a 2-day bus tour for Mackay Whitsunday graziers to visit large-scale grazing properties. The group saw how holistic grazing principles are being applied on a large scale over thousands of hectares across 3 properties in the Bowen and Collinsville region. Landholders were able to learn from each other, gain an insight into well-managed properties, and see how these principles can be applied on any scale, even under harsh conditions. There was a focus on letting the landholders do the talking, so everyone there was able to gain and share insights into how holistic grazing is being implemented. Many topics were covered, including how to manage large mobs of cattle efficiently while regenerating large parcels of land. The key is to optimize land management by aligning it with the natural cycle in order to gain the optimum benefit. Holistic farming starts with foundational principles, which support soil health and ground cover all year round, and can be taken all the way through to introducing physical structures, like contour banks to retain and take advantage of what little rain is available.
To put cattle in a paddock for, may only be a week, it might be a couple of months, but the main thing is they're getting moved about, and there's 80% of the place has got no cattle on it at any time. Spelling is giving things a chance to regenerate. What the problem is with leaving cattle in a paddock all the time, because they're selective grazers, they will just keep hammering the most palatable plants. So you end up losing, and it doesn't have to be heavily stocked, but you will end up losing your most palatable species. I like to leave about 6 inches of plant so that when it does rain or get a drink, it's ready to go, can utilise it. The major thing is from what they're leaving behind with the faeces and the urine. They're feeding that soil biology, and that's one of the most important things. In the end, there's no excuse to keep a paddock bare. And as you're aware, we've put some contour banks in to help with water infiltration. We're keeping more water in the soil, but if you had enough rain for it to run off, it'd be down the gully and gone out to sea. We'll just marked it out on the contour so that it was exactly level, and then ripped it so it's easy to see, and then just pushed it up. So you've got a bank on the downhill side and you've got a hole on the uphill side. There's no real science to it. Pretty basic, pretty easy to do. The major impacts where we've made changes here, and by far it's the most cost effective and cheapest for anybody, is cattle management. The cattle can make an absolutely incredible change to what's going on in your landscape. Most of your plants are there, and just given the right conditions, they'll come back.
I'm Garland, and we're at Mount Pleasant Station between Bowen and Collinsville. It's fairly dry, but we have a fair bit of life left in the landscape still. We've been practicing a form of regenerative agricultural grazing for, it's hard to have an exact starting point, but let's say 15 years or so, and we're very happy with the results so far. On top of increased profitability, I guess profitability and the increase in diversity goes absolutely hand in hand. The system we come from, which was basically a continuous graze where livestock are permanently in a paddock, the livestock will select out all their favourite plants first, then they'll select their favourite areas, and then you end up with a really, really patch grazed and really simplified ecosystem with very few species. Very few species gives you low drought resilience, it gives you basically low resilience and low productivity. And then these ones we were looking at last night, all these guys, so Q imagery. So if you just type in Q imagery, have you done these ones? Freaking marvellous.
So we're here, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Q imagery is all the aerial photographs back from about 1940, and you just download them to see the progression. Like again, we saw the clearing, you could see the sharp edges on the creek, and then now it's revegetated. Very easy, very achievable for a lot of people, and a really valid exercise.
Just keep it simple. It just makes it that many easier. The more thousands you have together, sort of does the work for you, as opposed to having about 1,000 or 1,200 you're having to work and move them quite often, or setting up stuff all the time. If you have 3,000 or 4,000 mob, you're leaving them in for a bit longer or something, but just what comes up behind is just incredible. Organisms under the ground, if you've got a healthy, they go on for probably kilometres.
So the changes in grazing management obviously are what's recreated the diversity in the pasture, and the diversity in the pasture is what's given us the productivity and the profitability, we no longer feed any form of supplement, so that saves us a lot of money, because now the cattle have got legumes and lots of non-grass species later in the year that have a little more protein, which was what they were lacking in the past. You can see there's slumping there. It would have slumped, but then it would have washed away, whereas now it slumps and it grows grass, and we've got now vegetation in the bottom of a lot of these, which is really wonderful. Planning and monitoring continually to see how we're going. It's not a set and forget and say, oh right, I'm not going to run this many this year. We make a decision about how many we can run. It's up to you where you go. A really easy first step is to maybe combine a couple of herds, so that instead of having a herd in every paddock, you can have one herd in 2 paddocks, and that's a great starting point.